I do have a very, very large bag, so this might be a pretty long video, just because I do have a lot of similar-ish flying discs, so hopefully I can kind of explain the reason it's in my bag, so that it doesn't seem like I throw 20 of the same disc. So first off, I have the Discraft Roach. This is what I putt with. These are my putting putters. I putt with the Jawbreaker ones. I have 2 of them in my bag. I really like the shallow-ish feel, the rim size and everything. They just agree with my hand really well. No bead to them, so really they glide a ton, and that's why I like them. I can hit chains pretty much every single time. If it's fairly windy, I won't throw them just because they are very glidey putters. But if there's not really a ton of wind and I'm a little bit farther and I don't really have another option, I'll just throw it because it's the easiest thing to throw. I throw them on a little bit of hyzer, they'll flip up and ride flat, and then sometimes they'll fade out, but pretty much it's just dead straight to the basket. Okay, the next disc up is the Discraft Slug. These are the 2024 Ace Race discs. I use them in like a situation where someone would typically throw like a glitch or like a watt, just for that really nice straight glidey approach shot. They're very thick, strange feeling putters, and they're fairly deep, which is why I like them. I really like deep throwing putters. I really like the big Anheuser line with them just because they're really easy to get on Anheuser. I don't forehand them because they don't hold up well to forehand. I have a different disc that I do that with. No wind, just kind of like a nice downhill, and it needs to hold the whole way because they'll just hold straight. Or if I'm a little bit farther back and I'm looking for something to kind of hold and glide a little bit more than my Roach, these are what I would throw. And I bag 2 of them just because when I'm warming up, I'll throw them to start to get my arm warm, because then I can raise the torque on them and start to throw them a little farther, and then my arm is warm for like the actual round. Next up, what I have is the Elevation Koi. This one is a very odd one. There's a rubber disc, and the reason I have it in my bag is for those situations where it's kind of windy. If you watch my Can We Survive 18 Holes of Disc Golf video, it was a very windy day. This will hit the ground and just not move because it is rubber. So no matter where it hits the ground, it's not gonna like kick up and roll like a typical disc. But yeah, very nice flying putter. I can get it to flip over. I don't throw it a ton, just because it is rubber, so it's hard to get. But for approach shots, this is what I'll use as my like just sit down throwing putter. Next up, what I have is my Streamline Range. One of my friends convinced me that it was like really good, and I used to bag it a while ago, and then I took it out just because I wasn't super in love with it. This is my alternative for the Slug if I'm looking for something to forehand and I need a shot like the Slug, but I need to forehand it. This is what I'll throw. Or if I'm looking for something with lower glide, to ride straight to the basket and kind of sink like a Berg, but not as overstable as a Berg, this is what I'll throw. It's literally just dead straight. Hyzer, it'll flip up a little and ride hyzer, and hyzer, it'll hold Anheuser the whole way. I don't love to backhand this on Anheuser. That's what my slugs are for. It's kind of difficult for me to get this one on Anheuser because of the lip. Next up in the putter category, we have a Meridian Discs Mojave. It's very, very similar feeling to a Prodigy PA3, which is what I used to putt and throw a while ago. And it's got a pretty nice bead on there. And like I said, I don't like putting with beaded discs, but throwing beaded discs, I love. It's definitely one of those discs that like I can trust reliably, but as I beat it in, it's gonna get that nice straight flight out of it as the bead starts to wear out. And that's why I love the baseline plastic in this. Straight, and it'll just dump right at the end. I don't use it a ton unless I'm like in a spot where I need an overstable throwing putter, or I'm a little bit farther back from the basket and I'm looking for something to go, but I don't quite need a mid-range or an approach disc. I need just this. I have the Dynamic Discs Sport, or Discmania Sport, not Dynamic Discs, Discmania Sport. I don't use this a ton in my rounds unless I absolutely need to. This is basically an overstable glitch. The reason I throw this instead of a glitch is just because I need that tad more bit of stability, just because of my arm speed. So literally it's just gonna glide the whole way. But I do tend to use this as a Frisbee. If I'm needing something that's similar to a slug that's not gonna turn, I'll use this. Like the Slugger, the range will turn. This won't turn as much just because of that 0-1, whereas those are like a 0-0. Next up, we've got the approach discs. So this first one for this category is going to be slightly controversial, but the reason I put it in here is because of the reason I use them. And is my Lunas. I bag a Big Z Luna, the highlighter one. This is a Superflex Ledgestone one, and then this is a Jawbreaker Superflex Luna by Ledgestone as well. And the reason I put them in this category instead of in the putter category, because they are putters. But the reason I put them in the approach is because I use them as approach and like distance throwing putters. I throw these twice as far as I would throw a regular putter in my bag, and that's why I put them here. Is like my distance one. This one's beefier, and so I can get a little bit better of a flight out of it when I rip it. But yeah, this is my favorite Luna in my bag. And then I have my red one. Like I said, this is my kind of dead straight distance one. It'll hold straight pretty much the whole way and only fade right at the end. And then this one is my flippy one. So if I need a Luna that's going to hold Anheuser, this is that Luna. Or if I need a flip up Luna, this will be that Luna, which it won't typically go as far as those other two just because it's a little flippier. But if I do need that Luna shot where I need a little more turn or a little bit of flip up, either of those, that's where I will throw this Luna, and that's why I bag 3 Lunas. Next up is the Discraft Zone SS, and you'll notice there's a lot of Discraft in my bag throughout this video. I absolutely love Discraft. I bag 2 because I have a backhand and a forehand Zone SS. This is a regular, just stock ESP one, and this is an ESP Flex one. These are what I would use in a situation where I need to throw like a zone, but I need to backhand it. And it's like just a little, like a half step down from a mid-range. So like it feels like a nice dead straight mid-range, but it's an approach disc, so I can only push it so far. And that's where like I'll use these on like a nice 300, 250 foot hole where I just need it to kind of hold straight the whole way, and it'll just kind of pump the whole way. And then this is typically what I'll use in an approach situation where I need like a nice turnover that'll fade out at the end, but I don't need as much fade as like a typical zone. Next up is the Trash Panda Canyon, and this is one that's in my bag as a little bit of a utility. I use this in a situation where I need something that's gonna ride straight and fade, but more than the Zone SS and less than a zone. I don't typically love backhanding zones, and this flies similar to a zone, and this agrees with my hand more. It feels more like a mid-range, but flies like an approach disc. And so I'll use this in situations where I would maybe want to backhand a zone, and I don't forehand this. It's kind of difficult for me to forehand canyons. I don't know why. So this is that backhand where I need something like, if you saw in the Can We Survive 18 holes, I had that tunnel where I need it to fade at the end of the tunnel. I just punch it down that tunnel, and I know it's going to fade at the end of that tunnel. Even if I put on Anheuser, I know it's going to come out. It's got that really nice agreeable hand feel for me, fairly flat with the bead, similar to the Mojave. And so this is one that I can push farther than the Mojave, but I know it's still going to come back at the end, and it's going to fight the whole way. Next up are my favorite approach discs, and those are my Vessels. I don't know if the short will be out by the time that this video comes out, but I have a short coming out of just Vessel. These are both parallel plastic with the sick alligator stamp on there. And I love these things. Cannot like recommend them enough. They've got that nice lowered flight plate, just a little bit, so it's got the thumb track. And I love these for a forehand. The reason I have them in here, because I also have zones in my bag, and I know people in the comments are gonna be like, why do you have the Vessels and the zones? For me, these tend to hold Anheuser or go straighter than like a normal stock zone. And so I like them for that situation where I need an approach disc to push a little bit straighter than a zone would for longer, but not as much as like a Zone SS, because the Zone SS on a forehand is not as torque resistant. And so it's gonna tend to flip up. These will just hold straight a little bit longer and then fade at the end. And so that's where like I'll use these in a situation where, similar to that tunnel that I talked about with the Canyon, on the opposite, if I needed to hold straight and then dump, or like if I'm going for an Anheuser Flex and I need something to hold a little more turn but not as much as the Zone SS, this is what I'll throw. Next up, I have 2 zones. And the zones are also, I very much love zones. I just love the Vessel too. This is an ESP Superflex zone by Ledgestone, and then this is a classic stock Z zone with the Heritage Anthony Barella stamp. So this zone for me is my straighter zone, and it's one that'll hit the ground and stop. And so if I need something like the Vessel, but I need it to hit the ground and stop in a windy situation, this is what I'll throw, just because it's got a ton of give to it. Very, very gummy. And so that's why I bagged this zone and the Vessels. It flies similar to the Vessels because it's ESP, and so it'll beat up very nicely, but it's that super, super gummy ESP with a lot of give, so when it hits the ground like the Koi, it'll stop. Then I have my Z zone, and this is my very overstable zone. So this is what I'll use in a situation where instead of a Vessel I need dump the whole way, but I'm not looking for that Zone OS amount of beef. I throw this just because I know it's very reliable. I can put this on Anheuser and I know it's going to come out. Last up in this category is the Crystal Glow Flex Zone OS. I can put this on as much Anheuser as possible and it's still going to fight out. I don't use this thing a ton. It's another one of those utility, very rare situation discs, but when I need it, I need it. So it's one of those ones that, like I said, I will put this on a ton of Anheuser and let it fight out, or I'll put it on Heiser and let it dump. But if I throw this thing straight, it's going to fade a lot sooner than my Heritage Zone will, just because it's so much more overstable. And so if it's a very windy day and I'm looking for something that I need to just go, like if I've got a huge headwind coming at me and the zone is going to flip over, I'll throw this. This is just a very reliable, overstable approach disc. And I just use it in those very niche situations where like I really need it. I need to like send it on Anheuser and I know it's going to come back. Or I just need that absolutely beefy, overstable, reliable amount of fade. This one's going to be a fairly short category just because I don't bag a ton of mid-ranges. This is a Halo Champion Rolo. I just aced with this recently. I absolutely love this thing. It's a max weight Halo Champion Rolo. This is a very overstable Rolo. Given that doesn't mean it's overstable. This is still very flippy because it's a Rolo, but it's not as like flippy as your typical stock like Star Rolo or like DX Rolo, you know. This thing does have some like reliability to it. I can trust. So if I'm looking for something to hold turn the whole way on a backhand, this is what I'll throw. Just because I know it's going to flip up and hold turn, but this will tend to fade back if it has enough room to come out of it. So I do love it for those big flex flights on a good amount of Heiser, or those shots where I'm throwing it on Heiser to turnover, and I need it to just kind of go. I can also throw it on a roller line if I need to. I don't typically throw rollers with mid ranges, but if I absolutely need to, that's what I can use this for. Next up is my Thought Space Mana, and this one, similar to the Rolo, is pretty flippy, but it's not as flippy as a Rolo. So this has a little bit more reliable flip to it. This is one where I'll put it on Annie, or I'll put this on Heiser, and it'll flip up to flat and just ride flat the whole way. So this is my disc where that if I need like a really, really long tunnel shot and it just needs to go straight the whole way, this will just go straight the whole way and really not even fade at the end. It's just dead straight the whole. I actually replaced my Lobster with this because I aced with my Lobster. I love the Lobster, but this is the same mold. And so that's why I went with. Next up is the Discraft Buzz, and this is a fused Buzz. I throw the fused Buzz just because it has a little bit more overstable, reliable flight than like a typical stock Buzz. But yeah, the Buzz is my disc that is more overstable than the Mana. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm going from the flippy to the overstable. And so this is kind of the middle of the run mid-range for me. This is one that if I put it on Anheuser, it's going to come out of that Anheuser pretty quickly, but not as much as like a typical overstable mid-range. Like I'll get a nice full flex line out. If I put it on Heiser, it's going to kind of ride Heiser, but it's just a nice like trusty. I mean, if you've thrown a Buzz, you know it's a Buzz. Straight to fade. And I just, like I said, I like the fused run of Buzz just because it looks pretty cool and I can get that little bit of extra stability to it that I wouldn't get out of a typical. So I can keep this in the bag a little longer, and as I beat it in, it will get a little flippier, but not as flippy as like a typical stock Buzz would. And so yeah, next up is my MVP Balance. Every time I throw it, it seems to get like a little embarrassed on the hole, because I've had 2 tournaments that I've been to now where I've gotten to a playoff hole for first place, and I've thrown it both times And the first time I threw it in the tournament, absolutely parked the hole. Amazing disc. I love this thing. And then the second time I threw it, it got embarrassed and like turned over or something. But with saying that, I still love this disc. This is my nice like overstable mid-range driver. This actually goes in my driver slot compared to like with my mid-ranges. It's very throw this in situations where I need to like throw something overstable, but I don't want to throw a driver just because I know that this isn't going to go as far. But yeah, okay, last up for this category is the Swarm. I did say I don't bag a ton of mid-ranges just because I don't throw a ton of mid-ranges. The ones that I do, I absolutely love, and there's a reason I bag them, but I just don't throw mid-ranges. I prefer throwing putters to mid-ranges because I can get them about the same distance, and I like just putters a little bit more. I like really deep discs for backhand, but when I need that mid-range, I use these mid-ranges just because I can't really get putters to do the same things that these mids do. This is my Swarm. I throw a 2024 Tour Series Jawbreaker Z-Flex Swarm. So this one's kind of old, but this is just my absolute beefcake of a mid-range, similar to the Zone OS. Just dump kind of the whole way. But this goes farther than a Zone OS. So like if I need that Zone OS flight, but I need to go farther, this guy. I know I can trust it. On an Anheuser line, it's going to come out of it. On a Heiser line, it's going to fade the whole way. I can get it to skip. So yeah, this thing, really nice, deep, overstable mid-range, very flat top there. And I love this thing. This run of them is my favorite right now. I haven't thrown the 2025 Tour Series. I may have to try one eventually, but right now, this one is like my go-to Swarm just because I've been throwing this one for so long. This was my first Swarm, and as soon as I got it, I put it in my bag and I have not taken it out. So first up in the fairway driver category is my Maverick with the really cool Pickle Rick stamp on there. I just started bagging this recently. I used to love the Maverick, and then I lost mine, and I never went back to one just because I was throwing a lot of Discraft and Innova, and so I never really went back to dynamic discs. And then I got this one, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love the Maverick. This is my turnover to kind of flex fairway driver. This will flip up nicely, similar to the Mana. I can get it to ride flat if I want for a long time. I can get it to ride Anheuser for a long time if I want. I can get it to flip up and kind of fade if I want. But really, this is just my flippy fairway driver. Like I can get this to turn for a long time, but it's not going to turn over. I can get this to flip up to flat, and I know that it's just going to kind of keep turning and be going straight the whole way. Okay, up next is the Discraft XL. And this right now is actually one of my favorite fairway drivers. I love this thing. It takes a little bit more to get turn out of it, but I do love that I can get it to hold turn if I need to, but it'll still come out of it. So not as much as the Maverick. Like if I throw this on Anheuser, I know it's going to come out of that Anheuser line. Or if I throw it flat, it's going to kind of hold that turn, but it's going to come out faster than the Maverick would. I do have other XLs. I preferred bagging this one just because it has a little bit more reliable fade to it, and I do like that for my arm speed. But I really like the hand feel of this. It's a fairly chunky fairway driver, and that 7-speed is really nice. Next up, what I have is my Latitude 64 Royal Sweep. I throw it on forehand and backhand, and I can get that reliable flip out of it. I love that this will hold turn when I need it to and fade when I need it to. It's just that really reliable turn to fade flight, but it doesn't turn over. And I love it for forehand because it does have that torque resistance that like my XL doesn't. And so if I need like a nice reliable forehand with that like nice flip to flex line so that it'll turn and then fade back out, this is what I'll throw. I've got my Discraft Passion, and I've been on and off with the Passion for a very long time. A couple of my friends throw Passions and they love them. I know, like I watch Foundation and they throw Passions and they love them. I've been so on and off with the Passion, and I've finally gotten to the point where I can say I like the Passion. This for me in my bag is my really nice straight 8-speed, so it flies like a Passion. If anyone's throwing a Passion, you know it's straight. They'll fade a little bit at the end, but really it's just straight the whole way. If you put it on Anheuser, it's Anheuser. If it's Heiser, it's Heiser. It's just a very true flying 8-speed. That -1, +1 is very true. It's just kind of a very malleable flight depending what you put the line. But really, I use this for that dead straight, just put it flat and it's gonna ride flat. This one is still one that I'm slightly getting used to, but this is a Z Zombie by Discraft. So this is like a step up from a Buzz. So like when I need that Buzz flight, like I was talking about before, but I don't want to throw a Buzz, I need something that's gonna go a little farther, this is what I'll throw. You'll see that this flies similar to a Passion in my videos when I throw it, but it doesn't go as far as the Passion, and it has a little bit more like reliable fade to it than the Passion does. It's a very thick fairway driver. It's a 6-speed and it flies like a Buzz does. One weird thing about it is that it flies straight on hyzer. It doesn't push hyzer, it just flies straight on hyzer. And I did find that kind of weird, and that's why it's still in my bag, because it's really just straight to fade. I do like to forehand it and it'll flip up a little, and I know it's gonna fade. It's just that very reliable, overstable-ish kind of shot. It's fairly stable. It'll just ride straight and then it'll fade. Next up is my Discraft Sagara, and I bag the lighter weight ESP one. I throw the Sagara in those situations where I need it to go straight and fade. I don't want this to turn. I don't want this to push hyzer. I just want it to go straight. And I found that this one likes to hold straighter than my heavier one just because it's easier to get there. I can really push this if I want to, but I'll throw this on holes that are like 350 to 375. And so that's where, like this disc, I just know it's gonna go straight, and as soon as it hits that like 300 mark, it's gonna start to fade. Next up, I have an Elite X Reaper in my bag. I'm considering switching soon to maybe a Crystal Reaper. If I throw this one hard enough, just because it's a little closer to base plastic, this one will flip a little. But I do know that it's gonna have a lot more overstable finish than the Sagara would, and that's why I throw both. Also on a forehand, this is very torque resistant, and so I will forehand this in a situation where I could forehand a Sagara. Just because the Sagara doesn't love forehand, this likes forehand, so I can get that nice reliable flip up, and then it'll ride hyzer if it needs to, but I love this thing for just those straight pushing hyzer lines. And if I do end up bagging a Crystal one, I'll use it for similar to that, just those pushing hyzer the whole way, but not as like overstable as the fairways that are coming up, just because I know it's got that reliable kind of straight push for a while, and then it'll fade at the end. Next up is my Big Z Predator. This for me is like my lower speed Venom as compared to my Halixes, which are my lower speed nukes. So I throw this on those shots where I need a lot of overstability similar to my Venoms, but I can't push it as far as my Venoms. So this is one that I would throw on those like 300 to 350 foot holes where I just needed to push hyzer the whole way, and I can only get it so far. I can put this on anhyzer and it's always going to come out of it, but I just know that it's only going to go so far. I can get that beautiful flex line, I can get it to ride hyzer. If I throw it flat, it's going to be pushing hyzer the whole way, but really it's just that straight fading pretty much the whole time. And I just love that because I know it's reliable, especially like in the wind. If I need that reliable overstability, I just always know that this is going to come back backhand, forehand, very overstable. And the last disc in this category is my Turbulence. And you'll notice in all of these categories that I have like a fairly understable and a fairly overstable disc. This is my very overstable fairway driver. This thing, no matter how much anhyzer I put on it, is always going to come out of it. This thing is so overstable, and I love it because of that. If you watch my Can We Survive 18 Holes of Disc Golf video, that hole with the par 4 that I end up birdieing up the hill, this is that meme disc that I said I was going to throw when I said I'm going to have fun. I threw it so wide because I know it's always going to fight back no matter what. Like, I can literally throw this on vertical anhyzer and it's still going to fight back. This thing is so overstable, and that's why I love it. It's for those situations where it's so windy and I need something that's absolutely going to fade, but like it's so windy that like even my Predator is going to seem flippy. This thing will always fade. Or it's for those situations where I need to throw anhyzer and I know it's going to come back because I need it to wrap around a tree very quickly, like it was in that video. I needed to get around that tree and come back as soon as it was past that tree, and that's what this is for. It loves forehand. My hand loves the forehand because of that thumb track in there, and I just love this thing for those absolute big anhyzer to fade bombs. Okay, last category is the distance drivers. And like I said before, distance drivers to me are anything 10 speed or higher. So just keep that in mind. First one up is my Nuke SS, and this is a Z-Glow Light Nuke SS. The reason I throw the light version is because I use this as my roller disc. The Nuke for me is like very agreeable hand feel, and so that's why I like this as opposed to like a flippier distance driver. If I choose to, I can also get a very nice flex line out of this. I just have to throw it on like a ton of hyzer, just because it is light. I know if I need a roller, I throw roller lines on occasion, and so if I really need that roller line, I can throw this on a little bit of anhyzer. It's going to turn, and it's going to hit the ground, and it's going to roll. I love the roller line with this thing just because I know how it's going to roll. I've thrown it enough, and I've thrown enough rollers to be like, okay, this is the line I need to throw it on. And so really that's what I use this for. And I use this thing a ton because I don't throw rollers a lot, and I don't need things that are this flippy for a flex line because I have other drivers. But if I do need a roller, this is that disc. Next up is my Ledgestone Jawbreaker ESP Scorch. Since it's Jawbreaker ESP, it beats up very nicely, and so over time this should get very much like flippy flex line flights. This one right now is flying fairly nicely. I can get a lot of turn out of it, but I know it's still going to come back. I can get a lot of flip out of it, and it's going to flip up to flat. I'd replace my Grace with this just because this has a little bit more reliable flight than my Grace did. My Grace was starting to get kind of an unpredictable flight. And so I just preferred to bag this because I have this, and then I have another driver that I'll use for a forehand that's similar. So yeah, this is what I'll use for those situations where I need a big flex line for like some nice distance, just like casual distance. That's what this is for. Next up is my Fission Time Lapse, and this thing is so much fun. I need something that'll give me like sneaky distance, and I love the time lapse in this plastic because it's lightweight, but it's still overstable. So if my arm is hurting, I can throw this and get a full flight out of it, similar to my other discs, just because it's lighter. Or if I choose to rip this on a good day when my arm isn't hurting, I can get a ton of distance out of it because of how overstable it is and the fact that it's a lighter plastic. So it's kind of two things that work together. If it's windy, it doesn't really like to fight out of it, but on like a nice normal day with no wind or like minimal wind, I can rip this thing. It'll ride anhyzer and it's always going to come out. So this thing always gets me like sneaky distance. So if I need something that I just kind of want to push, but not like my Scorch or like my Gorgon coming up, this is really my nice middle. If I just need something that I like, if my arm is starting to hurt a little, or if I'm just like, I need sneaky distance right now, this is what I'll throw because I know I'll get that really nice anhyzer to flex back outline, and it's always just going to kind of get that full flight. Next up is my Halostar Gorgon, and I've been loving this thing lately for those like dead straight distance shots. This thing has been my big distance driver lately because I can get it to flip up and flex naturally, and it just gets natural distance because of the glide that it has. This is my flippier 10 speed, and I just get it to kind of ride flat. This is just, it'll push straight. It may turn a little, but it's going to fade at the end just because of that Halostar stability. Straight, turn, fade, or flip up, flat, fade. Next up is my MVP Trail, and I throw a red Neutron Trail. This one's been in my bag for a good bit now. It's been probably close to a year that this one's been in my bag. If I need something like the Passion that's just going to go straight, or it's going to fade, or it's going to turn, that's what the Trail does. The Trail likes to fly like a more distance version of my Passion, and that's why I keep it in the bag, is because I can get that really nice flat straight flight out of it, and it'll fade pretty much at the end of the flight if it needs to, but it's really just going to go straight. And since I've been beating this one in for a while, it likes to hold straighter than it did when I first got it, but I love it for those just absolutely beautiful, buttery, dead straight, reliable fade at the end lines where like I need like a nice 400-foot hole where it needs to kind of just hold straight and then maybe fade a little bit at the end. That's where I'll throw this compared to the Gorgon. The Gorgon will turn a little bit more than this will if I throw it flat. This will just flat and fade. It won't really turn unless I make it turn, or if I throw it hard enough to make it turn. Next up in this slot are my Halixes, and these, like I said with the Predator, are my like lower speed alternative to my Nuke. So these are like if I need a forehand that'll flip up and ride, but I don't want to throw my Nuke because I need to kind of pull back a little, these are what I throw. Or I'll backhand them because I know I can get that reliable fade, but it'll also push straight. I prefer these over the Onyx just because they feel a little more reliable, They feel like when I forehand them, they don't flip up as much. And they also have that a little tad more reliable fade to them, in my opinion. I don't know. I love how these ones look. And I bagged 2 of them because I have one that I prefer on a backhand, one that I prefer on a forehand, but I still use them interchangeably. And I just like to have 2 of the discs that I really like for some shots, just so that I can kind of mimic it. So I bagged 2 just because I can kind of replicate shots and see what it feels like. This one's also a little more beaten in than this one, so I can get a little bit more flip out of this one on a forehand than this one, but I still get pretty similar flights out of them. But I really like them for that kind of forehanded on a touch of hyzer, it'll flip up, kind of flex, and then fade. Or if I backhand it, they'll ride straight and then they'll fade. But they have more reliable fade than like my Sagara or like my Reaper would, and they'll go farther than those typically would. On to potentially my favorite distance driver, which are my Nukes. This one is like on and off my favorite distance driver, but I always have my Nuke. This is my old Nuke. This one's been in my bag for like 5 years now. Well, I've been playing for 5 years, so it's been in my bag for 4 years now. This one is like my favorite. I love this Nuke so much. This is my newer Nuke, same plastic. They're both Big Z and they're both red. This one's newer, this one's old. So I prefer this one on a backhand, this one on a forehand. I've found that this one flies a little farther than this one, but I still know the flight of this one a little better because this one's flippier. So I'll throw this one if I need a flippy Nuke and this one if I need a stable Nuke. But really I use them interchangeably just depending on what I need. I use the Nuke on those days where I need, or like those holes where I need like a big forehand to turn and fade, but it's very far, so I need a lot, like I need a big full flight. I know I can get a full flight on a forehand or a backhand out of this, so these are like my big overstable distance drivers, just because I know I can get the right amount of turn that I need, but they'll still fade at the end. Next up are my Venoms, and I bagged 2 Venoms because I have my flippy Venom and my stable Venom. I bagged the 25 Tour Series Z-Swirl ones because I really like the feel and like these runs specifically. I've thrown a couple Venoms and these are just my favorite. But I use these in situations where I need a little bit more reliable fade or stability than my Nukes. My Nukes, like I said, get that nice buttery S-line, whereas these fade more. So if I need them to turn, I can make them turn. Like on a forehand, I typically forehand them, I don't really backhand them. I can get that nice S out of a Nuke. These will turn and then immediately probably fade out of it. And you'll see that a lot in the flight, but really I put them on hyzer and they ride hyzer. If I put them flat, they may turn a little, but they're just kind of pushing hyzer the whole way. Okay, last up is my ESP Superflex Fluke OS, which is a Ledgestone Nuke OS. This is in my bag for 2 specific reasons, and it's very specific. This is my super overstable distance driver. So if I need, similar to the Turbulence, a distance driver version of that Turbulence where I need it to turn, and like if I put it on a ton of anhyzer and I need it to fade pretty much immediately, this is what I'll throw. But I do tend to use this for a tomahawk, where if I'm tomahawking over some trees and I don't want it to roll or move at all, since it's ESP Superflex, I'll tomahawk this and it'll hit the ground and just stop. Really, I use this for like tomahawks over trees where I need it to go, and then it'll bowl out in the sky, hit the ground and stop. And really that's like all I use this for. It's very niche, but really when I need it, like I absolutely need it, similar to the Zone OS, the Swarm, Turbulence, and now this. Those are all my like super overstable ones. That's everything in my bag. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if there was something that you guys thought that I bagged that I don't, or if there's something that I bagged that you guys think has some like overlap with something else. So let me know in the comments. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe and come back for more videos like this.